I don't even think I hated school. I think I hated who I became when I was there because every morning felt like putting on this version of myself that was easier for everyone else to deal with. I'd walk through the doors, see the same people, hear the same stupid conversations, sit in the same seat, and somehow act like I was completely fine doing it all again. 5 days a week. Every week. For years. And it's weird because when you're actually in school, nobody really talks about how exhausting that is. You just wake up, get dressed, go in. Try not to embarrass yourself. Try not to get called on when you don't know the answer. Try not to look like you're alone. Try not to look like you're trying too hard to not look alone. Then you go home and do it again. I used to hate walking into a classroom late, not because I cared about being late. I hated that moment where the door opened and every single person looked at you. It's probably 2 seconds, maybe less, but somehow those 2 seconds felt like standing on a stage. And then I'd sit down and think about it for another 20 minutes, even though literally nobody else cared. That's the embarrassing part. Most people probably weren't thinking about me nearly as much as I thought they were, but I was. Constantly. Where am I sitting? Who am I sitting next to? Do I look awkward? Did that joke sound stupid? Why did they look at me like that? Should I have said something? Why didn't I say something? It was exhausting. And lunch was worse. Lunch somehow told you exactly where you stood. You could pretend all morning that you didn't care about popularity or groups or any of that stuff. Then lunchtime happened and suddenly everybody had somewhere to go, some table, some group, some person waiting for them, and if you didn't, you noticed. I remember pretending I needed to do something before lunch just so I wouldn't have to walk into the cafeteria alone. I'd take longer putting things in my bag, check something that didn't need checking, go to the bathroom. Anything that meant I could arrive after everyone was already sitting down, because walking around looking for somewhere to sit felt worse than just being hungry. That's such a stupid thing to admit, but it's true. And school friendships were strange too. You could spend almost every day with somebody and still wonder whether they actually liked you. You'd laugh in class, talk between lessons, maybe hang out after school sometimes. Then one day the seating plan changes or your timetable changes and suddenly you barely speak. That's it. Years of knowing somebody can disappear because you don't share fourth period anymore. And I used to take that personally. Maybe I still do. I'd see people I thought I was close with walking past me like we were barely acquaintances and think, was that all it was? Were we actually friends? Or were we just two people stuck in the same building at the same time? Then there's the grades. God, you spend months being told one number matters more than anything. Teachers tell you not to stress while handing you another sheet explaining exactly why you should stress. You've got mock exams, real exams, predicted grades, target grades, revision, coursework, deadlines, and somebody is always doing better. There's always that person who says they didn't revise and gets nearly full marks. Meanwhile, you've stared at the same page for 40 minutes and somehow absorbed absolutely nothing. Then you get the paper back, you see the number, and even before you've properly looked at what you got wrong, you're looking around the room trying to figure out what everybody else got. I hated that, because suddenly it wasn't even about whether I did well, it was whether I did well enough compared to everyone else. And I think that's what school did to me more than anything. It made everything feel like a comparison. Who had more friends? Who looked better? Who was funnier? Who got invited places? Who was dating someone? Who got better grades? Who seemed confident? Who already knew what they wanted to do with their life? I swear there were people at 16 talking about careers like they'd received some instruction manual I somehow missed. And I'd sit there thinking, I don't even know what I want for dinner tonight. How am I supposed to know what I want to do for the next 50 years? But I acted like I knew. Everyone did. That's the weirdest thing. We were all pretending. Pretending we weren't nervous, pretending we understood the work, pretending we didn't care what people thought, pretending certain comments didn't bother us, pretending we weren't checking who got invited somewhere, pretending we weren't scared of what happened after school ended. And then, eventually, it actually does end. That's the part I didn't expect to feel weird about, because you spend so long wanting to leave. You count down the lessons, the weeks, the exams, you complain about teachers, you complain about getting up early, you say you can't wait until it's over. Then suddenly, there's a last lesson, a last lunch, a last time walking through a corridor you've walked through hundreds of times, and nobody announces it. You don't hear some dramatic sound in your head, you just leave. Then one day you realize you're never going back in the same way. And I don't miss the homework, I don't miss exams, I definitely don't miss waking up early, but sometimes I miss how normal everything felt, seeing the same faces without having to arrange anything, knowing where I'd be tomorrow, knowing where everybody else would be too. Even the people I barely spoke to were somehow part of my life. And now some of them are just gone. Not dead, not missing, just gone from my life. People I saw nearly every day for years are now names I might randomly see somewhere. And maybe that's the part about school I've never really known how to explain. I spent years wanting to escape it. Then I left. And somehow I still catch myself missing random things I couldn't stand when I was there. A classroom. A corridor. Someone shouting something stupid across the room. That 5-minute conversation before a lesson started. I don't want to go back. I really don't. I just wish I'd known which moments were going to disappear before they did.